The sizzle came first. Sharp, loud, alive. It cut through the quiet of the early morning like a signal, like something refusing to be ignored. Grease cracked against the flat-top grill as thin slices of onions danced under the heat, their scent rising into the cold air of the street corner. Lily Parker didn't look up. She never did. Not at this hour. Her hands moved quickly. Practiced. Precise. Flip. Press. Slide. Every motion carried the weight of repetition and survival. The food truck wasn't much to look at. Faded paint. A dent near the back door. A flickering menu light that buzzed louder than it should. But it was hers. And right now, it was everything. Come on, just hold together today, she whispered under her breath, nudging the stubborn burner with the edge of spatula. The flame flickered. Weak, like it was thinking about giving up. Lily exhaled slowly. Not today. She couldn't afford another bad day. Not with rent due. Not with bills stacking up like quiet threats she pretended not to see. A car passed. Then another. The city was waking up. But her corner stayed quiet. Too quiet. She wrapped a breakfast sandwich carefully, placing it in foil like it mattered more than it probably should. Because to her it did. Every order mattered. Every dollar mattered. And then, she felt it. That strange feeling. The kind you couldn't explain but couldn't ignore. Lily's movements slowed. Just slightly. Her eyes lifted. And that's when she saw him. Across the street. Standing near a broken street sign. Still. Too still. A little boy. Maybe 7, 8 years old. He wasn't dressed like the other kids she sometimes saw wandering the area. No worn-out shoes. No oversized hoodie. His clothes were clean. Neat. Expensive. But his face. That was different. There was something in his eyes. Not fear. Not exactly. Hunger. Not just for food. Something deeper. Something quieter. Lily frowned slightly. Her grip tightened around the spatula. He didn't move. Didn't wave. Didn't call out. He just stood there, watching. Seconds passed. Then a minute. The boy's gaze shifted briefly, toward the food, then back to her. And that's when Lily noticed something else. He wasn't just looking. He was waiting. Her chest tightened. Hey, she called out, her voice cutting through the space between them. The boy didn't respond. He just blinked. Lily wiped her hands quickly on a towel and stepped out from the truck, the cold air brushing against her arms. Are you lost? She asked, her tone softer now. Careful. Still no answer. Up close it was clearer. His eyes were tired. Too tired for someone his age. You hungry? She tried again. That's when he nodded. Just once. Small. Almost hesitant. Lily glanced behind him. Empty street. No parents. No one calling his name. Something about that didn't sit right. She hesitated. Just for a second. Then she turned without another word and walked back into the truck. The grill was still hot. The food still fresh. She moved quickly now. Faster than before. Bread. Eggs. Meat. Simple. Warm. Enough. She wrapped it carefully. Like she always did. But this time it felt different. She stepped back outside and crouched slightly, bringing herself closer to his level. Here, she said gently, holding it out. The boy looked at it. Then at her. There was a pause. A long one. Like he wasn't sure what this moment meant. Then slowly, he reached out. His fingers brushed against hers for just a second. Cold. He took the food. And for a brief moment, something changed in his face. Not a smile. Not fully. But close. He sat down on the edge of the sidewalk and opened the foil carefully, like he didn't want to ruin it. Then he took a bite. Lily watched. Without realizing she was holding her breath. The way he ate. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was careful. Grateful. And that made it worse. You don't have to pay, she said quickly, almost before he could ask. The boy paused mid-bite. Looked up at her again. This time longer. Thank you, he said quietly. His voice was soft, but clear. Lily smiled, brushing it off. It's nothing. But the boy didn't look convinced. He stood slowly, holding the rest of the sandwich in both hands. For a second, it seemed like he was about to say something else. And then he did. My dad says, he started, his voice even quieter now. Lily tilted her head slightly. The boy looked down at the food, then back at her. And that's when he said it. Kindness always has a price. The words lingered. Heavy. Out of place. Lily blinked, caught off guard. What does that mean? She asked softly. But the boy didn't answer. He just stepped back, turned, and walked away. Not running, not rushing, just gone. Lily stood there, watching him disappear down the street. Her fingers tightened slightly at her sides. Something about that wasn't right. Something about him wasn't normal. And for the first time that morning, the quiet didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt like the beginning of something. Something she didn't understand yet. Something watching from somewhere she couldn't see. The next morning, Lily noticed him before the grill even heated up. He was there again. Same spot. Same stillness. Standing across the street like he had never left. For a second, she didn't move. Didn't reach for the spatula. Didn't turn on the burner. She just watched. Joel. She didn't know his name yet, but something about him already felt familiar. Like a quiet question she hadn't answered. The early air was colder today. A thin layer of fog clung to the pavement, curling around the tires of passing cars. But he stood there without reacting to it. No jacket. No shifting from foot to foot. Just waiting. Lily exhaled slowly and turned back to her truck. All right, she murmured to herself, flicking the ignition for the burner. Let's see if this is a one-time thing. The flame caught this time. Strong. Steady. But her focus wasn't on the grill. Not really. It kept drifting back to him. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. And just like the day before, he didn't leave. Lily shook her head slightly, already reaching for the bread. Kids in a freeze out there, she muttered. She didn't call out this time. Didn't ask questions. She just made the food. Simple. Warm. Careful. When she stepped out of the truck, he didn't hesitate. He crossed the street. Slowly, like he'd learned not to rush things. Up close, his face looked the same. Calm. Quiet. But his eyes still carried that same weight. You came back, Lily said, her voice softer than she expected. He nodded. That mean you're hungry again? She asked. Another nod. Lily let out a small breath through her nose, handing him the wrapped sandwich. You gotta start telling me your name at least, she added gently. The boy looked at the food, then at her. A pause. Joel. The name came out quietly, like it wasn't used often. Lily smiled. Nice to meet you, Joel. He didn't smile back, but something in his shoulders loosened, just slightly. He sat down in the same spot as yesterday. Same edge of the sidewalk. Same careful way of opening the foil. And just like before, he ate slowly, like he was trying to make it last. Lily leaned against the side of her truck, arms crossed lightly. Watching. Where you from, Joel? She asked after a moment. No answer. School around here? She tried again. Joel took another bite. Didn't look up. No. That was it. Short. Closed. Lily tilted her head slightly. All right, she said, not pushing further. Guess we're keeping secrets today. But her eyes stayed on him. Something about the way he avoided the questions. It wasn't fear. It was control. Like he knew exactly what not to say. That didn't match his age. Not even close. The next day, he came back again. And the day after that. And the one after that. It became a pattern. Morning came. Joel appeared. Lily cooked. No words needed. Sometimes he spoke. Small things. The eggs taste better today. Or, you didn't burn the bread this time. And once, just once, you looked tired. That one made Lily laugh under her breath. Yeah, she said, flipping a sandwich. That's what happens when you run a business that barely runs. Joel didn't respond, but he watched her more closely after that. Days turned into a quiet rhythm. Lily stopped asking too many questions. Joel stopped avoiding her presence. But one thing never changed. Every time she tried to bring up his family, he shut down. Your mom know you're here? She asked once. Silence. Your dad, she tried. Joel's grip tightened slightly around the sandwich. He's busy. That was all he said. But the way he said it, it didn't sound like admiration or pride. It sounded like distance, like something missing. And every single time he finished eating, he left the same way. No rush. No explanation. Just gone. Lily tried watching where he went once. She stepped out from behind the truck, wiping her hands quickly. But by the time she reached the edge of the sidewalk, he had already disappeared, like he knew exactly when not to be seen. That didn't sit right with her. Not at all. Kid moves like a ghost, she muttered one morning, shaking her head. But still, she kept feeding him. Every day. Free. No questions. Because somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling like charity and started feeling like responsibility. Like if she didn't show up, he wouldn't either. And she didn't like that thought. Not one bit. One morning, as Joel sat eating quietly, Lily noticed something different. Not about him, but about everything else. The street felt off. Quieter than usual. Still, her eyes shifted, scanning. And then, she saw it. Parked across the street. Far enough to blend in, but close enough to watch. A car. Not just any car. Black. Polished. Silent. The kind of car that didn't belong on this street. Tinted windows. Engine running. Waiting. Lily's expression changed. Just slightly. Her gaze flicked back to Joel. He was still eating. Calm. Unbothered. Like he already knew it was there. By the end of the week, the numbers stopped making sense. Lily Parker stood inside her food truck, staring at the small notepad tucked beside the register. Expenses. Costs. Supplies. Every line climbed higher. But the income? It barely moved. She pressed her lips together, flipping the page like maybe the numbers would change if she looked at them differently. They didn't. A sharp hiss from the grill snapped her back. The bread had been sitting too long. Damn it, she muttered, quickly flipping it before it burned completely. That made 3 wasted pieces this morning. 3 she couldn't afford. Outside, the street had finally picked up. Cars rolled by. A few pedestrians passed. But not enough. Not nearly enough. Lily wiped her hands on her apron, forcing herself to focus. All right, she whispered. One order at a time. But even as she said it, her eyes drifted. Across the street. Joel was there. Same spot. Same stillness. Watching. He hadn't crossed over yet. And for some reason, that made her more aware of everything else. The pressure. The silence between customers. The ticking clock she couldn't see but could definitely feel. Then finally, a customer approached. A man in his late 40s. Business suit. Phone pressed to his ear. He didn't look at her when he spoke. Bacon, egg, no cheese. Make it fast. Lily nodded quickly. Got it. Her hands moved automatically. Bread down. Egg cracked. Bacon pressed. But her movements weren't as smooth as before. Not today. Her mind was still on the numbers. Still on the rent. Still on everything that could go wrong. The man sighed loudly into his phone. Yeah, I'm stuck getting breakfast from some roadside truck, he said, his voice carrying just enough. Lily's jaw tightened. She didn't respond. Didn't react. Just kept cooking. The sandwich came together quickly. Wrapped. Handed over. That'll be $5, she said calmly. The man glanced at it, then at her, and frowned. This took you long enough, he snapped. Lily blinked, caught slightly off guard. I'm sorry, sir. And it's cold. It just came off the... Do you even know what you're doing? The words hit harder than they should have. Not because of what he said, but because of how easily he said it. Like she didn't matter. Like none of this mattered. Lily swallowed, kept her voice steady. If there's an issue, I can remake it. The man let out a short, mocking laugh. Forget it. He reached into his pocket, pulled out cash, and dropped it onto the counter. Honestly, places like this never last. The words lingered. Heavy. Sharp. Then he turned and walked away. Just like that. Lily didn't move. Her hands rested on the counter. Still, for a moment, the world around her felt quieter. Like everything had pulled back just enough for the words to echo. Places like this never last. She exhaled slowly. Yeah, she murmured under her breath. We'll see about that. But the confidence didn't stick. Not today. A second voice cut in. You shouldn't be giving food away, you know. Lily looked up. A woman stood near the edge of the truck. Arms crossed. Expression tight. I've seen you, she continued. That kid comes here every day. You don't charge him. Lily straightened slightly. He's just a kid. That's not the point. The woman stepped closer, lowering her voice just enough to sound more serious. You run a business, not a charity. Lily felt the words settle in. Uncomfortable. I decide how I run it, she replied calmly. The woman scoffed. Yeah? And how's that working out for you? Silence. Because Lily didn't have an answer. Not a good one. The woman shook her head. You keep doing that. You won't have a business left to run. Then she turned and walked away. Just like the man. Just like everyone else. Lily stood there. Still. Her chest felt tight. Not from anger. from something heavier. Doubt. Her eyes dropped briefly to the counter, to the few dollars sitting there. Not enough. Never enough. And then, she felt it again. That quiet presence. She looked up. Joel was standing there now, closer than before. He hadn't made a sound, hadn't interrupted. He had just watched. Everything. Lily forced a small smile. "Hey," she said softly. "You're early today." Joel didn't respond. His eyes stayed on her. Not curious. Not confused. Focused. Like he was trying to understand something. Lily turned back to the grill. "Same as usual?" she asked, keeping her tone light. Joel nodded. She started cooking again. But this time, her hands weren't as steady. Not after that. Not after what was said. Joel stayed quiet while she worked. Didn't speak. Didn't look away. Just watched. And when she finally handed him the food, he didn't sit down right away. He didn't open it. He just stood there, holding it, looking at her. "Lily," he said slowly. Her name. It caught her off guard. She blinked. "You remember my name?" she asked softly. Joel nodded once. Then his gaze shifted slightly, toward the direction the man had walked, then back to her. And that's when he said it. "You shouldn't let them talk to you like that." His voice was calm, but firm. Different. Lily frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Joel held her gaze, unblinking. "My dad wouldn't." The words landed quietly, but they carried weight. More than they should have. Lily felt something shift in her chest. Not fear. Not yet. But something close. Because the way he said it, it didn't sound like admiration. It sounded like certainty. And for the first time, Lily realized something she hadn't fully allowed herself to think before. Joel wasn't just watching her. He was measuring something. Something she didn't understand yet. And whatever it was, it mattered more than a free meal. The next morning, Joel didn't come. At first, Lily didn't think much of it. She still woke before sunrise. Still unlocked the food truck. Still turned on the burner with that same quiet hope that today might be better. The grill heated. The oil sizzled. The street slowly came to life. Everything felt the same, except for one thing. The empty space across the street. Lily glanced at it once. Then again. Nothing. No big deal, she muttered under her breath, reaching for the bread. Kid probably overslept. She focused on work. Orders came in. A few customers stopped by. Not many, but enough to keep her moving. Still, her eyes kept drifting, every few minutes, like something in her refused to settle. By noon, she stopped checking. By evening, she told herself she didn't care. But the next morning, she looked immediately. Before the grill. Before the prep. Before anything. The spot was still empty. Lily frowned slightly. That wasn't like him. Joel had been consistent. Quiet. Predictable. Always there. Until now. She exhaled slowly, pushing the thought aside. 2 days doesn't mean anything, she said under her breath. But it did. Because by the third day, the silence started to feel different. He wasn't just late. He was gone. The routine broke. And with it, something else shifted. Lily found herself making one extra sandwich that morning. Without thinking, she wrapped it, set aside, waited. It stayed there, untouched. By noon, she threw it away. Stupid, she muttered, shaking her head. But the next day, she made another one. And the day after that. Each time, she told herself she wouldn't. Each time, she did it anyway. The street didn't feel the same anymore. Too open, too quiet. Even the sounds felt different. The sizzle of the grill, the hum of passing cars, the low chatter of distant voices. None of it filled the space he left behind. It didn't make sense. He was just a kid, a stranger. But somehow, he had become part of her routine, part of her mornings. And now, that space felt wrong without him. On the 5th day, Lily stepped out from the truck during a slow moment. Her eyes scanned the street. Further than before. Down the block. Past the corner. Nothing. "Where did you go?" she murmured quietly. The question hung in the air. Unanswered. Her chest tightened slightly. Not panic. Not yet. But something close to it. Concern. That quiet kind that builds slowly. What if something happened? The thought came suddenly. Sharp. Uninvited. Lily frowned, crossing her arms lightly. "No," she said under her breath. "He's fine." But she didn't believe it. Not fully. Because the truth was, she didn't know anything about him. Not where he lived. Not who he was with. Not why he was alone in the first place. Nothing. And now that nothing felt heavy. Too heavy. That afternoon, a customer approached the truck. "Hey, you still got those breakfast sandwiches?" he asked. Lily blinked, snapping back. Yeah, I do." She moved automatically, but her mind wasn't there. It kept circling back. To Joel. To the way he spoke. The way he watched. To the way he said, "My dad wouldn't." Lily paused mid-motion. Her grip tightened slightly on the spatula. That part didn't sit right. It hadn't before, and it definitely didn't now. "Who are you, kid?" she whispered under her breath. The question lingered. Days passed. 6, 7. No Joel. By the end of the week, Lily stopped making the extra sandwich. Not because she didn't want to, but because it hurt to keep doing it. It made the absence real. Final. She leaned against the side of the truck one quiet morning, staring out at the street. Everything looked normal. Too normal. And that bothered her more than anything. Because whatever Joel had been part of, it didn't feel normal. Not even close. A faint sound broke through her thoughts. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Lily turned slightly. A man stood a few feet away from the truck. He hadn't been there a second ago. Tall. Clean-cut. Dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit. The kind of suit you didn't see on this street. Not here. Not ever. His posture was straight. Controlled. His expression unreadable. And his eyes were fixed on her. Lily straightened instinctively. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone cautious but polite. The man didn't answer right away. He took a step closer, then another, stopping just at the edge of the counter. Close enough now. Too close. For a moment, he just looked at her, like he was confirming something, like he already knew the answer. Then finally, he spoke, his voice calm, low, precise. "You've been feeding my son." The words landed instantly. Lily's breath caught. Her mind didn't move. Not right away, because something about the way he said it. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Certain. And suddenly, everything clicked. The boy. The silence. The way he disappeared. Her grip tightened slightly against the counter. "Joel?" she asked slowly. The man's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. A flicker. Recognition. And in that moment, Lily realized this wasn't just about a missing kid anymore. This was something else. Something bigger. Something she hadn't seen coming. And whatever it was, it had just found her. Before we continue, if you haven't subscribed, please make sure to do so. And don't forget to like, share, and comment where you're watching us from. The words didn't settle right away. "You've been feeding my son." They echoed in Lily's mind, slow, heavy, deliberate. Her fingers tightened slightly against the edge of the counter. "Joel?" she asked again, quieter this time. The man gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. Yes, that was it. No hesitation. No explanation. Just certainty. Lily swallowed. 1,000 questions rushed forward at once, but none of them made it past her lips. Instead, she studied him. Up close now, the details were sharper. The suit, flawless. The watch, subtle but expensive. The posture, control like someone used to being listened to. This wasn't just a father looking for his son. This was someone used to control, used to power. And suddenly, Joel made a little more sense. "Where is he?" Lily asked quickly, the concern breaking through her confusion. The man's gaze didn't shift. "He's safe." 2 words. Simple, but something about the way he said them made it clear that wasn't up for discussion. Lily exhaled slowly. Relief came first, then something else. Tension. "Why didn't you come sooner?" she asked, her voice steady but firm. "He's been coming here alone. Every day." The man's expression didn't change. "I know." That answer hit differently. Lily blinked. "You knew." Another nod. "I was aware of his movements." The words were calm, measured, like this was normal, like none of this was unusual. Lily felt something shift in her chest. "You were aware," she repeated, disbelief creeping into her voice. "He's a kid. He's my son." The correction came quickly. Firm. "And I make it a point to know where he is." Silence followed, because something about that explanation didn't explain anything. Not really. Lily crossed her arms slightly. Then why was he here? Alone. This time, the man paused, just for a second. Then he stepped a little closer. "My name is Brandon Scott." The name landed quietly, but it carried weight. Not just in the way he said it, but in the way it felt. Lily frowned slightly. I don't. You wouldn't, he cut in, not unkindly. And that somehow made it worse. Because it meant he already knew the gap between them. The difference. I run several companies, Brandon continued. Most of them you wouldn't recognize. But that's not important. Lily stared at him, waiting, because it felt like he was building toward something. Something she wasn't going to like. I've been watching you, he said finally. The words were quiet, but they landed like a drop in still water, rippling outward. Lily didn't move. What? She asked slowly. Every morning, Brandon said, from across the street. Her mind flashed instantly. The black car, the tinted windows. Her stomach tightened. That was you. Another nod. I wanted to see how you would respond. Respond to what? Lily asked, her voice sharper now. To him. The answer came without hesitation. To Joel. Silence. Because now, it was starting to make sense. And at the same time, it made no sense at all. You were testing me? She asked, disbelief rising. Brandon didn't flinch. I was observing. That's not better. No, he agreed calmly. But it's accurate. Lily let out a breath, running a hand through her hair. So let me get this straight, she said, pacing slightly now. You let your son come here alone, every day, just to see what I do. Brandon watched her carefully. I wanted to understand something. And what's that? If kindness still exists without expectation. The words landed differently. Not defensive, not aggressive, honest. And that caught her off guard. Lily frowned slightly. And Brandon's gaze held hers. You fed him. Every day. Without asking for anything in return. Lily shook her head lightly. He was hungry. That wasn't the question. She paused. Because he was right. It wasn't. Most people wouldn't continue after the first time, Brandon continued. Especially not when they're struggling themselves. His eyes flicked briefly around the truck. Taking it in. The worn edges. The fading paint. The quiet reality she lived in. You did. Lily didn't respond. Because she didn't know how to. And for a moment, the silence between them felt heavier than before. Then Brandon reached into his pocket, pulled out a small card, set it gently on the counter. I'd like to offer you an opportunity. Lily's eyes dropped to it. Clean. Minimal. Just a name. A number. No explanation. She looked back up. What kind of opportunity? Brandon didn't hesitate. A position. Lily blinked. In one of my companies. That made her pause. Why? Because that was the real question. Not the job. Not the offer. Why her? Brandon studied her for a moment. Because character is difficult to find, he said simply. And you've already proven yours. Lily let out a small, disbelieving breath. You don't even know me. I know enough. The certainty in his voice didn't leave room for argument. And that made it worse. Because it felt like a decision had already been made. Without her. I run a tight operation, Brandon continued. I don't make offers like this lightly. Lily's eyes flicked back to the card. Then to him. Her chest felt tight again. Not from fear, but from the weight of it all. This wasn't normal. None of it was. Joel. The watching. The test. And now this. A job. A chance. A door opening where there hadn't been one before. Think about it if you need to, Brandon added. Then paused. Just slightly. Like he already knew what she was going to say. But before she could respond, he spoke again. Clear. Final. I want you to come work for me. A beat. Starting today. The first thing Lily Parker noticed wasn't the size of the building. It was the silence. Not the empty kind she was used to at the end of a long day when her small food stall shut down and the streets thinned out, but a controlled silence. Polished. Intentional. The kind that existed in places where nothing was allowed to be out of place. She stood just inside the glass doors, her hands instinctively gripping the strap of her worn bag a little tighter. Everything here gleamed. Marble floors stretched endlessly beneath her feet, reflecting soft golden lighting from above. People moved with purpose, dressed in tailored suits, their voices low, their expressions unreadable. No one rushed. No one shouted. No one struggled. It felt like stepping into a different world. A world she didn't belong to. Lily. The voice broke through her thoughts before she could retreat into them. She turned. And there he was. Joel. Running toward her. Not cautiously. Not quietly like before. Freely. His shoes tapped quickly against the marble. His face lit up in a way she hadn't seen when he used to sit across from her stall, eating like someone who didn't know when the next meal would come. Now he looked lighter. Happier. "Hey," she said softly, kneeling just in time as he reached her. He didn't stop, just wrapped his arms around her like it was the most natural thing in the world. For a second, she froze. Then slowly she hugged him back. "I thought you disappeared on me," she murmured. Joel pulled back slightly, smiling. "I told you I'd come back." Something about the way he said it made her chest tighten, not from doubt, but from something warmer. Relief. "Miss Parker." She stood quickly at the sound of the voice. Brandon Scott approached them with the same calm authority he carried the first time she saw him. Impeccable suit, measured steps, eyes that missed nothing. But today there was something else beneath it. Approval. "I trust your first impression hasn't scared you away," he said. Lily let out a small breath, glancing around again. "It's a lot. That's understandable." He gestured subtly toward the elevators. "Come. There's much to show you." The higher they went, the quieter everything became. By the time the elevator doors opened, the noise of the lower floors had completely disappeared. The office space was expansive, but minimal. Clean lines. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Everything arranged with precision. Lily stepped inside slowly. "This is where you'll be working," Brandon said. She turned to him, uncertain. Working, doing what exactly? He studied her for a moment, as if measuring more than just her reaction. Observing, learning, assisting where needed. "That sounds vague." "It is," he replied calmly, "because I'm not hiring you for a position." A pause. "I'm investing in your judgment." Her brows furrowed slightly. "My judgment. I've built everything you see here by reading people correctly," he continued. "And you, without knowing who my son was, without expecting anything in return, you made a choice most people wouldn't." Lily shifted her weight slightly. "I just gave a kid food." "You gave him dignity," Brandon corrected. Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just heavy with meaning. The days that followed didn't feel real at first. Lily found herself sitting in meetings she barely understood, listening to conversations about numbers far bigger than anything she had ever imagined. She observed how decisions were made, quickly, confidently, sometimes ruthlessly. Yet Brandon always asked for her input. At first, she hesitated. Then slowly she spoke. And each time she did, he listened. Not politely. Seriously. It unsettled her. Because she wasn't used to being heard like that. But the moments that grounded her, the ones that felt real, were with Joel. He found her every afternoon without fail, dragging her away from the structured world upstairs into something simpler. They'd sit in the lounge area, or sometimes outside when the weather allowed. He'd talk more now, laugh more, ask questions he never asked before. "Do you miss your food stall?" he asked one day, legs swinging from the chair. She smiled faintly. "Yeah, I do." "Why?" "Because it was mine," she said. Even when things were hard, it was honest. Joel nodded like he understood more than he should. "You can build something bigger now." She looked at him carefully. "Is that what your dad wants?" Joel shrugged. "That's what he does. He builds things." Lily leaned back slightly, her gaze drifting toward the glass walls of the building. "Yeah," she murmured. "He does." It wasn't just respect growing between her and Brandon. It was something quieter, more dangerous. Late evenings turned into longer conversations. Not about business, but about life. Choices, regret, purpose. One night, the office was nearly empty. The city lights shimmered below them, stretching endlessly into the distance. Lily stood near the window, arms loosely crossed. "It still doesn't feel real," she admitted. Brandon stepped beside her. "Reality is relative." She glanced at him. Your world, it's so controlled. Doesn't anything ever go wrong?" A faint smile touched his lips. "Constantly." She allowed a soft breath. "Then why does it look so perfect?" "Because people only show what they can manage." There was something in his tone this time. Something less guarded. She studied him more closely. "And what can't you manage?" she asked quietly. For the first time, he didn't answer immediately. Their eyes held. The silence stretched, but it wasn't empty. It was charged. Something unspoken passing between them. Something neither of them fully understood yet. Or maybe they did, and just weren't ready to say it. Lily's breath caught slightly. Brandon took a small step closer. Not enough to cross a line, but enough to blur it. And then, the door behind them opened. Sharp. Unexpected. Both of them turned instantly. A woman stood at the entrance. Elegant. Composed. Unfamiliar. But the way she looked at Brandon, it wasn't casual. It was personal. I've been looking for you, she said. The silence that followed was no longer controlled. It cracked. The silence didn't settle this time. It sharpened. Lily Parker felt it cut through the room the second the woman stepped fully inside, poised, unshaken, like she already belonged there. Her eyes moved from Brandon Scott to Lily. Slowly, deliberately. I've been looking for you, she repeated. Brandon's posture shifted, subtle, but undeniable. I said I'd handle it, he replied. Handle what? Lily didn't ask. Not yet, because something told her she was about to find out. The woman took another step forward, her gaze still locked on Lily now. And she is? She asked. There was no warmth in her voice. No curiosity either. Just assessment. Lily, Brandon said. She works with us. With us? The woman echoed, her lips curving faintly. That's new. Lily held her ground, even as something in her chest tightened. I didn't realize introductions were optional here, she said, her tone calm, but steady. The woman's eyes flickered with interest. Oh, they're not, she replied. They're just selective. A pause. Then, she extended her hand. Victoria Hale. Lily shook it. Firm. Measured. Lily Parker. Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. Of course you are. Something about the way she said it lingered, like she already knew more than she should. Then she turned back to Brandon. I think it's time we stop pretending, she said. The room stilled. Brandon's jaw tightened slightly. This isn't the place. No, Victoria replied smoothly. It's exactly the place. Her gaze slid back to Lily. You deserve clarity, she said, especially after everything you've been part of. Lily's stomach dropped. Everything I've been part of, she repeated. Victoria tilted her head slightly. You didn't tell her? She asked Brandon, almost amused. Silence. That was the answer. And suddenly, the ground beneath Lily didn't feel as stable. What is she talking about? Lily asked, her voice quieter now, but sharper. Brandon exhaled slowly. Victoria. No, she cut in. Let's not do this your way again. Her tone hardened, just enough to fracture the calm she had walked in with. Then she faced Lily fully. The test, she said. You think it was just about kindness? Lily's pulse quickened. That's what he told me. Victoria let out a soft, almost pitying laugh. That's what he tells everyone. The word hit harder than anything else. Everyone. Lily's eyes snapped to Brandon. Everyone, she repeated. He didn't answer immediately. And that hesitation, it said more than words ever could. Victoria stepped closer, lowering her voice just slightly. You weren't the first, she said. And you won't be the last. The room spun, not physically, but in understanding. What does that mean? Lily asked. Brandon finally stepped forward. That's not entirely true, he said firmly. Victoria raised a brow. Isn't it? A beat of silence. Then, you've been observing her, Victoria continued, ignoring him now, measuring her, testing her responses, her limits. Lily felt something cold settle in her chest. That's not what this is, Brandon said. Then what is it? Victoria challenged. This time, he didn't have an immediate answer. And that was enough. Lily took a small step back, not out of fear, out of realization. So all of this, she said slowly. Joel, the food, the meetings. Her voice tightened. It was all part of something bigger. Brandon looked at her, something real finally breaking through his composure. It started that way, he admitted. Started. The word hung between them. Dangerous. Incomplete. But it didn't stay that way, he added. Lily let out a breath that felt heavier than it should have. Didn't it? Before he could respond, the door behind them opened again. Harder this time. Faster. Joel. He stopped the second he saw all three of them standing there. His eyes moved quickly from his father to Victoria to Lily. Something was wrong. He felt it instantly. What's going on? He asked. No one answered. Victoria's expression softened, but only toward him. Joel, she said gently, we were just talking. I don't like when you're here, he said bluntly. The honesty in his voice cut through the tension. Victoria's smile thinned. You'll have to get used to it. Joel's gaze hardened in a way that didn't match his age. No, he said. I won't. The room went still again. Lily looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she saw it. Not just a boy, but someone caught in something far more complicated than he ever chose. Her chest tightened. Joel, she said softly. He turned to her immediately. Are you leaving? He asked. The question hit harder this time, because now, she didn't have a simple answer. She glanced at Brandon, then at Victoria, then back at Joel. I don't know, she said honestly. Victoria stepped forward again. Maybe you should, she said calmly, before things become more complicated. Lily's eyes snapped to her. They already are. A quiet beat. Then Brandon spoke, firm, controlled. This conversation is over. But it wasn't. Not even close. Because Lily could feel it now. There was more. Much more. Things no one was saying. Things being hidden. And for the first time since she walked into this world, she didn't feel chosen. She felt positioned. Like a piece in something she didn't fully understand. Joel moved closer to her, his hand lightly gripping hers. Don't go, he whispered. Her heart pulled in two directions. And Brandon, he saw it. Lily, he said, his voice lower now. Whatever you think this is. I don't know what this is, she interrupted. And that was the truth. The most dangerous kind. She took a slow step back. Then another. Not running. Not breaking. Just stepping out of something that suddenly felt unclear. I need time, she said. No one stopped her this time. Not Brandon. Not Victoria. Not even Joel. Because they all knew. This wasn't the end. Not yet. As she reached the door, something made her pause. Not fear. Instinct. She turned slightly. Whatever this test really is, she said quietly, I'm not done with it. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly. Brandon's expression shifted. And Joel, he smiled. Just a little. Because something had changed. The balance. The control. The story itself. Lily walked out. But this time, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like the beginning of something deeper. Something hidden. Something unfinished. And somewhere behind her, truth was still waiting to be uncovered. What truth do you think is to be uncovered? Write in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that once I upload part 2 you will not miss out.